So I'm going to share a few things about my TRX4 SPORT. Bone stock, pretty decent truck. Obviously there's a lot of reviews on this truck out there, so I'll try to be brief on some of the stuff you guys already know. First thing that's got to go, obviously, is the bumpers. The front's way too big. The rear bumper, what I ended up doing on it, I've got one on order and it hasn't come in yet, but I ended up flipping it upside down. And then if you shave off the stuff off the bottom of it, it actually, it sits up pretty high and there's not a lot of drag. It actually works out fairly well. The front bumper, I ended up getting rid of completely and going with an aftermarket one. And then I relocated my steering servo. The stock steering servo, obviously on these, is pretty weak. So I upgraded to one off of Amazon. I think it was like $20 or $25. Kind of wish I would have went with the heavier one. I'm probably going to end up going with the $80 Traxxas 400. I started out with just a 2S bigger, battery that took up this whole tray, and ended up finding out you can go with the drone. This one's 1300 milliamp, and it actually lasts a long time. And this is a 3S battery. Tons of power, super lightweight, fits all the way down inside the lower part of the tray. So you're getting a better center of gravity when it comes to that. I went with a aftermarket speed controller, and it changed this thing drastically. The trigger is just so much more refined. Your reverse isn't so jerky. You can tune your reverse. I have my reverse on 50%, so when you hit the trigger, it's just a whole lot more smooth in reverse. It's definitely something that is worth buying, and I think it was only like 50 bucks. Wasn't much. I went with quite a bit of brass on it. I've got the pumpkin cover, I've got the outer portal, I've got the C's, I've got the shock mounts front and rear. On the rear, I didn't add much weight. I guess I did the portal covers and the pumpkin. The front still just, drastically heavier than the rear on this truck, which is obviously what you want. One upgrade I recommend for climbing, if you like climbing rocks and stuff, is I changed the gearing out in the front pumpkin, and I went with an overdrive gearing, so the front tires spin just ever so slightly faster than the rears do now. As far as the body goes, I ended up raising these maybe a couple holes to get a little bit more lift on the body. Had to do quite a bit of trimming up front to get the front bumper to fit up in here. And then, obviously there's quite a bit of tire scrape even whenever it's bone stock. And I don't really like that clicking noise the tires make against there, so I did a lot of trimming up underneath on the fenders. In the rear, for the stock bumper trim that I did, actually the body kind of slides right over the rear bumper a little bit because it's so far back now. But it doesn't look that bad, and it definitely helps on your approach and descend angles and stuff. Another add-on I did that I like quite a bit is the sliders. I went with some steel tubing sliders. They seem to slide across the rocks a whole lot better than the plastic ones. The plastic ones kind of like dig in a little bit sometimes. So for my wheel and tire setup, I ended up going with the Pitbull Rock Beast tires, the XLs, and I really like them. I'm pretty new in this, so I don't know a whole lot about the foam. I feel like the foam could be a little bit softer in these, and so I'm going to try to figure that out next. The wheels are just an aluminum beadlock wheel, but I really like the way it looks as far as the realistic part of it goes. So also, another thing I wanted to add is when you change out your speed controller, so it normally mounts right here. This one's so small, I was able to mount it in the battery tray when I went with this smaller battery, which obviously just puts stuff more in the center of the truck. And the other thing about it that I like is rather than having that tiny little button to turn it on and off, this is your power button. And you can obviously just reach your finger underneath there on the body and hit it. Well, if you stuck around this long, I appreciate you watching my video. Here's some close-up footage of some of the stuff I've added onto my truck. If you guys have any comments, you're more than welcome to leave them. And I also know that I'm not that smart or educated when it comes to these trucks, so some of my terminology is not the best, and I'm sure it annoyed some of you people. But anyway, I appreciate you watching it. Thanks.